Hey guys, lately I've been getting some requests to start making a few videos, just, not necessarily lessons, but maybe I can spread some knowledge for some guitar players out there that maybe have been playing a few years, maybe just a few minutes. But there's a lot of things about guitar that unfortunately you can't get many lessons on. Tabs, sure. Songs, sure. There's tons of websites, all that kind of stuff. But what about the fundamentals of a guitar? Like, most people don't even know the significant parts of guitar, what they're called, why they're called that, why they're there, what they signify, or even tuning a guitar. So I just wanted to throw a couple videos together for all the people out there that are maybe lost. Maybe they broke a string, they have no idea what to do. Just a collection of videos of some basic stuff to do with guitar. So the first thing I want to go over is just the parts of a guitar. So this is an acoustic, but most of the things I'll talk about are going to apply to an electric guitar as well. Maybe a few of them won't, but we'll talk about that. So we'll start at the top, kind of transition all the way down to the bottom, and we'll go through the different parts and what they are. So this section right here, from this part to the top, we call that the headstock. Now there's different configurations for this. You have what some people call a 3 and 3, which is like this guitar. You have 3 strings on one side and you have 3 on the other side. You've also seen probably in line, which is like a Stratocaster. It has all 6 in one straight line. I have one. I don't have it out right now, but you've probably seen it. Really, it doesn't matter how it's configured. It depends on the maker of the guitar and what they were going for when they designed it. So this whole collection of stuff up here is called the headstock. Now on the headstock, let's get a little closer here, we have different parts that we need to identify. So you have on the back, you can kind of see this whole section here. And then here you've got kind of a tuning thing. This whole section here is called a machine head. Now the machine head is what you use to string a guitar and also tune a guitar. Some guitars you have an open back so you can actually see it. You can't on this one. But if you imagine, inside of here is basically a gearing system. And what that does is as you turn this tuning peg, which is this here, what it does is it slowly turns this cylinder, and as you'll listen right now, it makes it higher or lower in pitch, right? So I can go, I was turning the wrong one. So you hear that? That's how you stretch your string, and that's essentially how you tune it, as I'm sure a lot of you know. So by rotating this, you're pulling the string tighter, which is how you tune the guitar. It's also, if you ever break a string and you have to re-string it, you'll see there's a hole in here. You thread it through, and then you loop it a couple times, and that's how you string the guitar up here. So basically, these most of the time don't really even get messed with. Once they're installed, they're usually good. Unless you drop your guitar or something, you never even have to touch these other than tuning and restringing. Further down, you have this piece right here. It's very, very significant, although people don't realize how much a lot of times. It's called the nut. Now, there's different types, electric guitars, acoustic guitars, they all have different types. Essentially, the point of this is to create a very precise location where the string is going to be free to vibrate. So if you look at it, let's see if I can get close enough, this webcam. You've got the strings coming up here, right? And then right when it hits here, come on, webcam, just focus on it. Right when it hits here, it starts to straighten, and then now it's going across the rest of the guitar. So what this does is essentially create the starting point for the string itself. What is going to be the playable part of the string. And that's called the nut. Very, very important piece of equipment on there. If this thing ever breaks or rubs down, you'll notice mine's a little worn because if I play too hard, it vibrates. That means it's starting to wear down. I probably need to replace it soon, but don't worry about it. So from here, As we go down, we are now introduced to what most people already know is called the neck of the guitar. So that's this whole section here. From here to here is the neck of the guitar, probably because it's very thin, very long, kind of looks like a neck. You have your head, and then down here you have the body. So what's between? The neck. I assume that's why it was named. On the neck of the guitar, you have a couple different things, which is on the top, you have what's called the fretboard. Now, these are usually synonymous with each other, but there is actually slightly a difference. The neck signifies everything, the whole thing. The fretboard is just the part right here where you actually play. The reason that they're significantly different is because the neck of the guitar and the fretboard a lot of times are different pieces of wood. You'll have a maple neck and maybe mahogany fretboard, or a maple fretboard and an oak neck. I mean, whatever, different guitar manufacturers do different things. But, there's different types of wood, different types of fretboards. You'll notice you have brown ones or white ones. It depends if it's mahogany, maple, or rosewood. That's all depending on the maker of the guitar. The important thing to know is that this front face is called the fretboard. The reason it's called the fretboard is because it houses the frets. Now, very, very common misconception that I hear too many new guitarists and even some experienced guitarists make is they push on this metal bar here. If you look at these metal bars and they say, oh yeah, that's your fret. Wrong. That is not your fret. That is a fret bar. Your fret is what is between the two bars. So if you've already started and you tell your friends, oh yeah, this is the fret, stop it now, because you're wrong. And you don't want to go and talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about and they're going to call you an idiot. So you don't want to do that. So remember, the fret is the space that you play between the fret bars. Very, very important. Fret bars are the spaces, are the signifiers here, the metal pieces. The frets are the areas between that you hold. Anyways, going down, now you get into the beast, the body of the guitar. Now this is the main difference between an electric and an acoustic guitar. Obviously, an acoustic guitar is very thick and it's hollow with a hole in the middle. An electric guitar is usually thinner and it's solid sometimes, and it has pickups. So we're going to go through just the acoustic guitar because it's probably less known anyway. So on an acoustic guitar, for the body, it's hollow on the inside, and then you have this opening called the sound hole, aptly named because it produces the sound. When you play a string, right, it vibrates, creates pressure waves. Those pressure waves go in, kind of move around a little bit in here, reverberate, and then they come back out. So that's why this is called a sound hole, because it really is what is producing the sound of your of your acoustic guitar. Without this, your guitar would just basically sound like an unplugged electric and not really sound good at all. So that's really significant. You want to make sure this is always clear. When you're playing, you don't want to cover it. A lot of people tend to play up here and they cover the sound hole with their hand. You want to make sure that when you're playing, you pick over the sound hole, but you don't cover it, because then you're not going to get your full sound, because essentially you're blocking the sound from coming out. So you don't want to do that. As we continue through, you have the last little section here. This is where the strings end. This is a very, very important part called the bridge. Now, the bridge is set up all different on different guitars, but there's two things on every guitar, acoustic or electric, that the bridge needs to do, which is one, it needs to hold the end of the string. There's different ways to do this. In this way, it's kind of like a peg. You put the string in, you push that peg down, friction holds it in. So that's one thing it needs to do. The second thing is it needs to create an end point for the vibrating part of the string. So remember up here at the nut, from here is where we start. The string is now free to vibrate. Now we need to have an end to that as well. So that's where the bridge comes into play. You'll look, it's kind of the same type of a thing as the nut. It's set up to where, let me see if I can't even see it here. It's set up to where the string kind of goes over the top and then, shoots down. And that is really so that you can have a set distance between the nut and the bridge. So it's a very precise end point for each string. Now, as far as the functionability of the guitar, that's basically it. The most significant things you need to know as far as terminology. So when you're learning or when you're looking at lessons and somebody says, oh, the bridge, or somebody says, oh, the nut, or the machine head, the tuning peg, you'll know what they're talking about, which really helps to kind of get a knowledge of guitar and learning in general. There's a couple other things that are just worth mentioning. You have this thing here, most guitars have. It's called an end pin. It's where you put your strap. So, that's just the terminology for you. You also have the dots on the guitar. Technically, those are called fret markers, but different people call them different things. There's other videos and lessons you can look at that'll explain why those are there, but that's essentially what they're called. And that's basically it as far as the main significant points to know on a guitar. So there you go.